So I'm just grading a trench down the middle, like this. All the soil that was in the middle will be on the sides. Hey, it's Greg on here with MaritimeGardening.com, and doing a little redesign in the garden here, and I thought I'd take you through a piece of that process. I've entitled this video Making Soil Out of Nothing at All, something like that. And the general principle, and not principle, the technique I'm going to talk about here is employing the hugelkultur method. I'm not really building a hugelkultur bed to be true to that actual technique, but I'm stealing from that technique to get soil where I really don't have much soil. You'll see as I go along here, but this is a very easy way. You know, I used to do, years before I knew anything about hugelkultur, permaculture, no-dig, anything, I used to do this just out of cheapness and frugality. Little did I know, according to Sepp Holzer, the sort of guru of hugelkultur, that it's a great way to build good soil and excellent gardens. So I'm going to take you around and sort of show you what I'm doing here and give you a sense of what I'm shooting for, and then I'm going to you know, do a sort of fast forward video type thing where I show you how I'm going to apply this method to this particular bed. Alright, stay with me. Alright, so this area here is the perimeter of my garden. You can see this, it's sort of under construction, right? If you've been following along, I planted some parsnips in this one using this paper strip technique. And I planted them in the fall. They'll come up next spring. It's fall here in Nova Scotia, Canada, 2018. It's I think it's 2nd of December right now. Nothing's going to grow here till April. It's just a way to, you know, I found out that you can sow parsnips in the fall. Just one more thing you don't have to do in the spring. I've noticed that I've got kale coming up in various parts of my garden spontaneously. So it inclines me to think that kale can be sown the same way. So I put some kale seeds here. We'll see what happens. Anyway, all the way around the garden, this whole perimeter was strawberries, and just the way I designed it, it's like from the edge of that perimeter, you can see like there's the edge. You see a log there? From the edge of that perimeter to the fence, it's 4 feet or more, slightly more than 4 feet, and it's just unworkable. I can't get at it, and so it tends to get neglected, mainly because it's hard to get at. So even though I'm making really good use of the space, like, you know, this is all cultivated land, because I can't get at it easily, I tend to ignore it, and so I'm really not getting good productivity at it because I am not working with it. So let me just step back a bit here, give you sort of more of an overview. What I've decided to do is sort of extend the system I've got here, where I've got beds going. The slope of my garden goes down this way. This is gradually, this is a grade that goes downhill this way. So I decided to just put beds, you know, the same sort of thing. I'm going to have beds going all the way down, butted up against that fence. Right, so that's the first one. And I've been working my way around the perimeter. And you can see what I've done here. And sorry, this garden's a bit of a mess. You know, I'm just in the middle of working through here. I have one bed here. This dimensions of this bed is 4 by 6, 4 feet wide by 6 feet front to back. And then I have a space in the middle that I can use to get at the gardens. But rather than waste this little bit at the end here, I've put a little garden that's about 16 inches by 2 feet wide, right? So I can maybe grow something that I can train up the fence there, right? Why waste the space? But that way I can kneel in this little cockpit and access this garden. I can get it from this side because it's just a walking path. I can access the adjacent garden. Then over here, as I'm working my way around the corner, right, I've done the same sort of thing. I made a space so I can access both gardens from the side, and then I put a little narrow garden there against the fence just to make use of the space, right? But I have these borders because it does help to some extent prevent weeds from migrating in. I've got a lot of wild things growing outside the enclosure, and they tend to come in. blackberries being the worst of them, the worst offender. And a weird spot here around the corner. It's just, it's a tight corner, so I had to sort of waste some space. I'll probably put a little, 18-inch garden that goes all the way along the edge there, just to make use of the space. Not a big deal. I'll put that one there. I guess I could put another short one. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do. Maybe another short one is in order. That would make the most sense, perhaps. No, because that one belongs there. That has to be there. It's the right distance from these ones. That one has to be there. So it's not really much. If I'm going to use that, I got to use it there. I'm trying to keep a line down here that I can get a wheelbarrow through. And then I'll have a space on either side of the garden like I've done over here. I'm hoping this all makes sense to people, right? That way it's all about being able to get at the gardens. If they're comfortable to work in, to get at, you tend to harvest more and you just tend to stay on top of things better. So as I'm going to have another one of these here, going all the way down. Right, previously I had one long garden here, and I got another long garden there. That garden's maybe 3 feet wide by 12 feet long, maybe even longer. So I'm going to have ones that just are 4 by 8 that go this way, right? So I'll probably have 1, 2, 3, probably 4 of those going this way, right? So I don't know if I'm going to have less. I think I might be losing overall area, or I might be around the same because I won't need this walkway here. But because I can get at the gardens, I think I'll end up getting more out of them just because it's more serviceable. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Alright, so the idea is to dig a trench down the middle, throw a bunch of rotten logs in here, throw some compost and leaves in here, and hopefully by the end of it I got a bit of soil. When this garden was right over here originally, so I got a bit of soil in my wheelbarrow and a bit of soil in this bucket, so that'll go on the very top. So hopefully this will work. You'll see what I mean as I go along here, but I think this will probably work. Let's have a look. So I'm just grading a trench down the middle, like this. All the soil that was in the middle will be on the sides. It's worth mentioning, I don't know if it came across on the fast forwarded part, but I got a rock here. About the size of PEI. It's a huge rock. And if I wanted to spend an hour with levers and pulleys and stuff, I'm sure I could get it out. But it's deep enough that it's not going to really, take away from what the plants do, and it's just too much work to remove. So, sometimes being stubborn is not a good quality. What am I trying to say? Sometimes it's better to let the rock be stubborn and let the rock win. That rock gets to win. I'm just going to leave it there. It's really big. Probably a 200, 300 pound rock. So forget about it. So I'm just gonna, I just dug the trench a little off center and dealt with it that way, right? It's always good to just, especially here, we have a lot of rocks in our soil, so you have to do these little course corrections. are. Soil from nothing at all. Making soil from nothing at all. Of course, it wasn't from nothing at all, right? We just took the soil that was down there and brought it up. I had to get a little bit more from off to the side there. But really what you're doing is you're taking a volume of soil out of the ground, and then you're replacing that volume with materials that will break down slowly. Wood, rotten wood. And all the wood I'm putting in here is rotten, so it's not going to pull too much nitrogen out of the ground because it's been on the ground rotting for a long time, pulling nitrogen out of the ground, right? Also, it's beneath, a good deal beneath the top part of the garden, the top soil, right? Where the plants get most of their nutrients from the top layer, the top few inches. The roots go down deeper, they try to get other things, mainly water, right? Because the water is down lower. And as those roots go down searching for water, they're going to get the rotten logs, which suck up water like sponges, right? So in the dry summer months, when rain's few and far between, these gardens won't need any watering because there's going to be this wet, spongy core that's always wet, right? Whenever it rains, it'll swell up and it'll hold on to that for a long time, and it won't give that water up because it's underground, almost like a well, a kind of well. And that allows us, by removing that volume of earth, right, to use that earth in the garden, while those logs slowly rot and turn into earth themselves. Now, of course, I'll put a mulch over the top of this, and it'll all be ready to go for next year. I might even sow some parsnips here today. It's supposed to rain later today, but we'll see how much time there is. But you know, if you want to learn about that, watch the video I did a few days ago. You can sow parsnips in the fall. They may not germinate till the following spring. It's just one more thing you don't have to do the next year, and that's why I'm out here. Second, I think it's December 2nd today. That's why I'm out here doing this stuff. I don't want to have to do it next spring, right? Next spring I want to be thinking about planting, and you know, all that sort of stuff. There's no garden intending to do right now, and I just want to get outside and get some exercise. So my eye is turning to other projects, other things that I want to get done in my garden. It's perfectly fine to do those sorts of things this time of year. The soil, it was frozen up solid a week ago, frozen about 4 inches down, but it's thawed right out. We had a sort of a warm weather pattern come through, so everything is thawed back out. So why not get out and get as much done as you can while you can. Anyway, I thought I'd just take you through that and give you, a taste of what you can do when you don't want to buy anything new. I mean, all the inputs here, I repurposed. This bed was over here before. I just moved it to work with this new plan I have. I took earth out of the ground and moved it up. I filled the hole with rotten wood. I put some, stuff from my compost bin and some leaves and some rotten wood in there, and then put a bit of soil on top. So now I got a nice productive garden. I'll sow some parsnips here and put some cardboard down between the rows to make it weedless, and hopefully I'll just have a great garden here next year. So I hope you found that interesting and it gave you some ideas, and if you've still got time, maybe you want to get out there and do a similar thing in your garden if this gave you some inspiration. So if you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. Check me out on Facebook, and until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.